Okay, guys, I'm really sorry about that. I had to cut it off because I'm in the middle of doing something and somebody came in. So I had to cut it short because I didn't want to pause it and just leave you with dead air for a long time. So, as I was saying, okay, so boys are already going to be systematically targeted because they look older than their age. They may not look older than their age, but they are actually perceived as older than their age, which is used as a means to justify ill treatment even of black minors, black male minors. When a black boy does the same thing that is normal teenage behavior or childlike behavior as a black boy, it's often deemed more harshly than it is when a white boy does the exact same thing, because black male children are not given the same benefit of the doubt. And this even extends into adulthood. Studies have shown that even men who come from affluent, good backgrounds, they often don't do as well in terms of their careers, and that's partly because they're discriminated against in the workplace. Opportunities that are not afforded to black males are given to even less competent white males. Some years ago, there was a scandal to do with these Ivy League schools and actors paying for their children who are incompetent and are incapable of completing the course. They're being paid off by these, Hollywood actors and actresses. And I remember before that scandal broke, I think there was a an article in the paper. It's like, it's not what you know, it's not just who you know, it's who your parents know. Oftentimes, one person is a lawyer, another person has a friend who's a doctor, and they say, well, my little Johnny wants to be a doctor one day. Can you give him a little boost or something? How much do I have to pay you? How many drinks do I have to buy you? Or take you to the country club and help that membership along or whatever. And it's one back, being scratched by another in these circles. So you often have people who are in top positions who are not even qualified to be there. And sometimes you will have people in the black community who actually are deserving of those positions, but there's kind of like a boys' club that closes in around them. And so that's one of the reasons why, in a lot of instances, these young people are not getting the opportunity that they need. Okay, so let's go back to the comment. I'll show you what's outside. Enjoying outside for 5 seconds, like how the weather's dry. So where I'm sitting and I'm trying to have these deep conversations, and people just come and sit beside you. I'm like, why, bro? Don't you see the point was to sit by myself? dude is not dude is not catching the hint, bro. So now I gotta walk and talk. So yeah, so then it's like the failure is not on the part of the men. The failure in part is on the part of the women. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that at the end of the day, when you become an adult, you do have to take responsibility for yourself. Even if you were given lemons, you got to make the proverbial lemonade. But you find that there is a culture in the black community of this pull yourself up by your bootstraps that you don't see other races having. Like, even if everybody's struggling, everyone's struggling together, and they all have a collective dream that one day they will thrive together. This goes back to the whole thing about Black Girls Rock and Black Girl Magic. Why is it you claim to care about the community? You use all this community-based language, but then the only people in the community as a black female you seem to care about is other black females. Now, this is a rhetorical question because I already know what the answer is. And if most black women are intellectually honest, they will say that they know what the answer is as well. It's because they want black men to build everything and they want to run it. They want black men to be the attack dogs and go and fight for them and do all kind of things for them. But then afterwards, they themselves don't want to, partner with solid black men. Because more and more black men are coming into the middle class, the number of black men in jail is going down. the number of black men getting education is on the rise. So how do you work out that there's a shortage when the things for black men are increasingly getting better? Okay. So then it says life is a game called survival of the fittest. The fittest who master the game thrive. And as I pointed out with the thing to do with education, you're not thriving in education because you're superior intellectually to men. Men are superior to women when it comes to intellect, especially when it comes to things like STEM. The reason why women are doing better is simply because of things like equal opportunities or um, the other thing that's equal opportunities, like we got to fill a quota. We need a certain number of blacks. We need a certain number of Asians. Need a certain number of gays. We need a certain number of women. You know that thing. I can't remember what it's called now. That identity BS. No, I'm joking. That's just my name for it. But you know the thing I'm talking about. Oh, it's eluded me right now, bro. So yeah, you're not thriving because you're doing more. You're thriving because you're doing things like humanities, where like all you have to do is like learn some dates and learn some theories. And in a lot of instances, you're not even going to be using it because, again, how come you have so many psychologists in the black community and still a prevalence of mental health problems? Obviously, there's a disconnect. Why go to school for something that you're not even going to use, even though a lot of people do it? Okay, so I divested because I got tired of playing complexion wars. Again, there are going to be men who like darker hues. There's going to be men that like lighter hues. There are places on the planet where men like and prefer darker skin. It could just be that the men you like didn't like you. And it also depends where you are in the country. Obviously, there are certain places where there is a higher percentage of mixed Latina females. Maybe you're in a all-white area, so that's something else. I don't know. And it says you're tired of the struggle. Unfortunately, a lot of black people and black kids, they're born into struggle because their own families haven't set a foundation for them to inherit. There's no inheritance, there's no business to get. Do you know how many times I've heard of people say, like, my parents left me a house, or they left my siblings a house and all we did was sell it and divide up the money, rather than keep the house and turn it into an Airbnb. And you know that should anything happen to anyone in the family, you all have this house you can run back to, and you keep it as an asset and do something with it. If you don't want to keep it as a single dwelling, make it into apartments, break it up into rooms and rent them out to students. I hear of people who have land. The land is sitting untilled, nothing growing on it, no tree. Even if you have a piece of land and you don't know what to do with it, you can plant trees on that piece of land. And then you can sell the timber. At least that piece of land is generating an income. You can even lease the land out to people who have farm animals and they pay you to graze on the land. But black people are not business savvy. No, I'm saying like I'm the next Bill Gates out here, so don't get it twisted. But we don't inherit a mindset that causes progress. And once again, you have a huge push for black women to be successful in business, because black women, even if they're successful in business, they're only going to take that money and use it for other black females. They're not going to take that money and use it for the betterment of the entirety of the community. That's why they don't mind giving black American women 10 billion, because they know you're going to take that 10 billion and spend it on weave, spend it going to the club. You're going to be a consumer. They'll get back that money with interest in no time, because the women don't have a mentality to say, let me take this money. We're all going to come together and build 5 boys' schools. We're going to build programs for boys. We're going to build this for males. We're going to do this and that to keep black men out of jail. They know that black women are not going to do that. They know black women not going to do that. So it's not a threat to give them a huge amount of money, even if each person doesn't get that much money in the end. Because 10 billion spread over a lot of black women is not really a lot in each person's pocket, to be fair. But they know even if you gave them 100 billion, they're not going to take that money and put it into the community for the betterment of the entire community. They're only going to put it into shopping and consumerism, which ultimately goes right back into the hands of the people who gave you the money in the first place. Okay, so, okay, you got tired, so you divested. Okay. We surpassed our men educationally and economically. And that's not because we're trying to replace them. I mean, you can argue that, but it's not strictly true. And then again, you have to also ask the question, what do you mean by educationally? You can be educated in a trade. Just because you don't have a certificate from a school doesn't mean you're uneducated. And the average man still makes more than the average woman. Why? Because men go into the army and they go into trade school. So without any kind of formal education, they're still able to actually, on average, make more money than women. So that's a fallacy. That's not even up for debate. Then she says it's because we want and deserve better, and that we know the only way to get it is on our own. And it says it's beneficial for us to partner with men on our level. Well, I'm in an echoey stairwell. The reality is this: who is on your level is on your level. And as a woman, what you bring to the table is your looks, you know, if you're young enough, fertility, and how you can be an asset to your man. Okay? On your level is not how many degrees you have. Because if your degree causes you to go in a direction that's opposite to your man, your degree is a hindrance to that relationship. It's not a benefit. If you and your husband say, we need to save $20,000 in a year, you're going to work, I'm going to work. It doesn't matter what work you do, you and him is on the same program. But once you're like, oh, I'm elevating my job above my man because I'm so independent and strong and I'm educated and I can do all things by myself. Now your job is conflicting with the overall goal of that family. So when black men complain about women showing off about their education or bragging on their education, I said this in the video, I'll say it again. This is not about men wanting dummies and women who are uneducated so they can control them. It's because these women prioritize their job and marry their job over the needs of their family. And this is reflected in the reading rates of black boys. Black boys have some of the worst reading levels. So how can you say black women are the most educated if they're not even investing in their own sons to make sure they can read? How can they compete in the school, in the education system, in the workplace, if they can't even comprehend the literature in the textbooks? Even if you don't want to spoon feed them to success, handing them down a company, handing them down a school fee, handing them down a deposit for a home, handing them a car on their 16th birthday, paying for all the things they need, at least ensuring they have a basic education so they can educate themselves should be paramount. And we don't see this in the Black community to a great enough degree. One of the other reasons why so many of these young Black men are falling through the cracks is because of the single mother rate. If 70% of children in the Black community are being born out of wedlock, even in those households where there is a man, is there stability? Is there consistency? If the man didn't want to marry you, why are you having his child and cohabiting and doing all of these things? So even if around half of the single parent households, even if half of the out of wedlock households are single parent households, and about 8 out of 10 are going to be single mother households, how many of the other households are ran by women and dominated by female energy? Probably a significant portion, which is going to lead to men not having the natural masculine skills they need to run a family properly. All of these things contribute to the production of the men that Black women complain about. I did a video a long time ago called Swirlers Benefit from Other Women's Decisions. Okay, if you haven't watched it, please go and check it out. But at the end of the day, the women of other races that you Black women who want to divest run to, you have to also recognize those women do a better job. They pick men who will stay with them. They pick men who will raise those boys to be strong, set a good example. They'll be with men who actually they can build a household with, share their income with, enrich their children with. So you as a Black woman, when you're bragging about divesting, you're riding on the back of the hard work of other women who groomed their sons to be something for 18 years and sacrificed. And this isn't about me being upset about people wanting to date out, because I'm an advocate for dating out. If people feel unhappy within the group and they want to leave, there's no point to stay and feign all this loyalty. Just go and be happy. But that lack of accountability, that lack of introspection that a lot of Black women have when it comes on to why Black men are in the state that they're in, I'm not saying that because Black women have to take accountability for the way they raise their boys, adult Black men don't have to do better, but they are doing better. And for the men who are not, you shouldn't even see them. So all this talk about struggle, Black people are addicted to struggle. We deliberately make things harder than they need to be, just so we can say we're living the authentic dream. Because when you ask Black women to do the things they need to do to get the kind of men they say they want, they're not willing to do it. So obviously you don't want it that badly, or you would do what you needed to do. So we do use our education, the last couple of lines, to benefit our children. Yeah, when that child is for a non-Black man, but when that boy is by a Black man, in a lot of instances, that child is falling through the cracks. Once again, it's about thriving, not feelings. But this whole comment was based around feelings because at the end of the day, it's not substantiated with evidence. Talking about discrimination in the classroom, discrimination in the workplace, the impact of single parent family living, adverse childhood experiences, talking about, the way Black boys are not educated properly and things like that. That's not using racism as an excuse. These are just the facts. Pointing out the facts is not always using racism as an excuse. And a lot of men, they will say, well, I'm discriminated against because I don't have this and I don't have that. But if that, who brought you into the world, they're the ones that's supposed to help you to get the things you need to get, to set you up with a foundation. The scripture says, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You may never see the benefit of leaving some money or buying your child their first cars, or buying, leaving a house, or paying their tuition fee. You may never see the full benefit of that investment, because by the time your children's children grow up, they're gonna, maybe you won't be here anymore. But that doesn't change the fact that you should do it. It's only black people that say things like pull yourself up by the bootstraps and we've got to struggle and struggle love. If you are in engaging in struggle love, and being a ride or die for the right man's not an issue. But a lot of black women, they like what they like, they want what they want, they pick the wrong kinds of men, and then they complain afterwards that it's struggle love. It's struggle love because that's what you like. Maybe you were raised in struggle love. It was a struggle to get love from your parents. It was a struggle to get love from your dad, who maybe wasn't around, because 70% of children are born out of wedlock. It was a struggle to get what you needed because you maybe were growing up in poverty. And now you're kind of conditioned to think that being in a struggling situation is just normal. Bernard Riley, and I'm going to end with this. He did a video yesterday talking to a lady who dates out, or she says she doesn't date out, but she understands why black women are more feminine for non-black men. And this is all part of the conditioning as well. Looking at non-black couples and wanting to be in the white woman's position. Naturally, you know how to be a woman when you're emulating that white woman for that white man. But when it comes on to examples that we feed our brain about black love and black relationships, it's always, the broke guy, Tyler Perry-esque, he's got no money, but he's got a good heart. And then the one who's got the money is a complete dog and an abuser. And, this chick is a good girl gone bad, and she's with this bad boy who's selling drugs, and she's holding him down while he is in prison. We feed our mind with these negative images about black on black relationships. And then we wonder why we struggle to see each other in a healthy way. But when you watch TV with non-black people, they just have normal relationships. They get up, they drink coffee, the husband gives the wife a kiss on the cheek, he goes to work, she goes to her receptionist job or whatever, or drops the kids off to school, and then she comes home and they have dinner. And a lot of black women are pining for that life, and they don't even realize all you have to do is change to be the kind of woman that a man like this within the black community would want. But because a lot of black women don't see black men as valuable enough to do those things, they dig their heels in for a black man, and then they try to divest. Or they know how to relate to a non-black man, but they have no clue how to date a black man. But that's a whole conversation for another day. All I wanted to say is this: at the end of the day, black women need to drop the victimhood and accept that a lot of the problems in the black community, they contribute towards those problems. The men that you endorse, the men that you validate with your body, giving them your womb and things like that, all of that feeds into the system that creates these broken men. And then on top of it, no one is asking you to date and be with dysfunctional black adult males. What everyone is saying is date productive men. But if you want to have a productive man, you have to be the kind of woman a productive man would want. That's the end of the story. And, for everyone who's catching this on the restream, please watch part 1 if you haven't watched part 1 already. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.